An incunable, or sometimes incunabulum, is a book pamphlet, or broadside that was printed, not handwritten, before the year 1501 in Europe. Incunable is the anglicized singular form of incunabula, Latin for swaddling clothes, or cradle, which can refer to the earliest stages or first traces in the development of anything. A former term for incunable is fiftina, referring to the 15th century. The first recorded use of incunabula as a printing term is in the Latin pamphlet De Ortue Progressiatis Typographica by Bernhard von Mallinckrodt, which includes the phrase Prima Typographica Incunabula, the first infancy of printing, a term to which he arbitrarily set an end of 1500, which still stands as a convention. The term came to denote the printed books themselves in the late 17th century. John Evelyn, in moving the Arundel manuscripts to the Royal Society in August 1678, remarked of the printed books among the manuscripts, "The printed books, being of the oldest impressions, are not the less valuable. I esteem them almost equal to MSS, the convenient but arbitrarily chosen end dates for identifying a printed book as an incunable does not reflect any notable developments in the printing process, and many books printed for a number of years after 1500 continue to be visually indistinguishable from incunables." Post-incunable typically refers to books printed after 1500 up to another arbitrary end date such as 1520 or 1540. As of 2014, there are about 30,000 distinct incunable editions known to be extant, while the number of surviving copies in Germany alone is estimated at around 125,000 types. There are two types of incunabula in printing: the block book, printed from a single carved or sculpted wooden block for each page, by the same process as the woodcut in art, and the typographic book, made with individual pieces of cast metal movable type on a printing press. Many authors reserve the term incunabula for the typographic ones only. The spread of printing to cities both in the north and in Italy ensured that there was great variety in the texts chosen for printing and the styles in which they appeared. Many early typefaces were modeled on local forms of writing or derived from the various European forms of Gothic script, but there were also some derived from documentary scripts, and, particularly in Italy, types modeled on handwritten scripts and calligraphy employed by humanists. Printers congregated in urban centers where there were scholars, ecclesiastics, lawyers, nobles and professionals who formed their major customer base. Standard works in Latin inherited from the medieval tradition formed the bulk of the earliest printing, but as books became cheaper, works in the various vernaculars began to appear. Famous examples incunabula include the Gutenberg Bible of 1455, the Peregrinatia Interum Sanctum of 1486, printed and illustrated by Erhard Reuich, both from Mainz; the Nuremberg Chronicle written by Hartmann Skadel and printed by Anton Koberger in 1493, and the Hypnerotomachia Polyphili printed by Aldus Manutius with important illustrations by an unknown artist. Other printers of incunabula were Gunther Zeiner of Augsburg, Johannes Mentelin and Heinrich Egerstein of Strasbourg, Heinrich Gran of Haguenau and William Caxton of Bruges and London. The first incunable to have woodcut illustrations was Ulrich Boner's Der Edelstein, printed by Albrecht Pfister in Bamberg in 1461. Statistical data. The data in this section were derived from the incunabula short title catalogue. Printing towns. The number of printing towns and cities stands at 282. These are situated in some 18 countries in terms of present-day boundaries, in descending order of the number of editions printed in each. These are Italy, Germany, France, Netherlands, Switzerland, Spain, Belgium, England, Austria, the Czech Republic, Portugal, Poland, Sweden, Denmark, Turkey, Croatia, Montenegro, and Hungary. The following table shows the 20 main 15th century printing locations. As with all data in this section, exact figures are given, but should be treated as close estimates. Languages. The 18 languages that Incunabula are printed in descending order, are Latin, German, Italian, French, Dutch, Spanish, English, Hebrew, Catalan, Czech, Greek, Church Slavonic, Portuguese, Swedish, Breton, Danish, Frisian, and Sardinian. Illustrations. Only about one edition in 10 has any illustrations, woodcuts or metal cuts. Survival. The commonest Incunable is Schedl's Nuremberg Chronicle of 1493, with c. 1,250 surviving copies. Very many Incunabula are unique, but on average about 18 copies survive of each. This makes the Gutenberg Bible, at 48 or 49 known copies, a rather common edition. Total number of volumes. Counting extant Incunabula is complicated by the fact that most libraries consider a single volume of a multi-volume work as a separate item, as well as fragments or copies lacking more than half the total leaves. A complete Incunable may consist of a slip, or up to 10 volumes. Formats. In terms of format, the 29,000-odd editions comprise 2,000 broadsides, 9,000 folios, 15,000 quartos, 3,000 octavos, 1812 MOs, 230 16 MOs, 2032 MOs, and 364 MOs. Caxton. ISTC at present cites 528 extant copies of books printed by Caxton, which together with 128 fragments makes 656 in total, though many are broadsides or very imperfect. Dispersal. Apart from migration to mainly North American and Japanese universities, there has been remarkably little movement of Incunabula in the last 5 centuries. None were printed in the Southern Hemisphere, and the latter appears to possess less than 2,000 copies, i.e., about 97.75% remain north of the equator. However, many Incunabula are sold at auction or through the rare book trade every year. Major collections. The British Library's Incunabula short title catalogue now records over 29,000 titles, of which around 27,400 are Incunabula editions. Studies of Incunabula began in the 17th century. Michel Mater and Georg Wolfgang Panzer arranged printed material chronologically in annals format, and in the first half of the 19th century, Ludwig Heine published Repertorium Bibliographicum, a checklist of Incunabula arranged alphabetically by author. Heine numbers are still her reference point. Heine was expanded in subsequent editions by Walter A. Kopinger and Dietrich Reichling, but it is being superseded by the authoritative modern listing, a German catalogue. The Gesamtkatalog der Wegendrucke, which has been underway since 1925 and is still being compiled at the Staatsbibliothek zu Berlin. North American holdings were listed by Frederick R. Goff, and a worldwide union catalog is provided by the Incunabula short title catalog. Notable collections, with the approximate numbers of Incunabula held, include Post-Incunable. The end date for identifying a printed book as an Incunable is convenient but was chosen arbitrarily. It does not reflect any notable developments in the printing process around the year 1500. Books printed for a number of years after 1500 continued to look much like Incunables, with the notable exception of the small format books printed in italic type introduced by Aldus Manutius in 1501. The term post-Incunable is sometimes used to refer to books printed after 1500. How long after? The experts have not yet agreed. For books printed on the continent, the term generally covers 1501 to 1540, and for books printed in England, 1501 to 1520.